What's up, gurus? It's your boy Pablo, wishing each and every single one of you an amazing Tuesday. Today's video is going to be an awesome one. We are going to be talking about an ancient, forgotten empire based in India, Vijayanagar, and in particular, a book that helped me discover such a mystical place called A Forgotten Empire, Vijayanagar, a contribution to the history of India. And you're going to want to hear the fascinating tales and excerpts that I will read from you from this work. And reading this book was something, I got to tell you. First of all, I had never ever heard of Vijayanagar. Apparently, it was a city unlike any other. It was compared to Rome and was said to be stunning. When I read the descriptions of this city and this empire, I couldn't believe it. But there's so much history and interesting stories behind it. I will tell you some of them that jumped out to me. And it's an incredible story. But before we dive into that, I do want to give a huge shout out to all of our gurus who are already following us across all of our socials. But if you're not already doing that, be sure to give us a follow on X and on Instagram at Ask a Guru app. Also, be sure to subscribe here at Ask a Guru TV because we've got the greatest videos on the internet coming at you, so you're going to want to stay tuned. But most importantly, download Ask a Guru or sign up at askaguru.com so that you can post your favorite music, movies, books, and TV shows, and you will receive the most amazing, life-changing recommendations from gurus all over the world who are just as awesome as you. And I gotta say, truly, Ask a Guru is the most magical place on the internet. And just last week, I was turned on to what we ultimately named as our artist for the week. That is the band Lamp out of Japan. And I've been on such a J-pop wave. I have started listening to all of Lamp's albums, and I am like stunned. I am stunned by how amazing of a band that is. And I heard of this band on Ask a Guru, thanks to you gurus. In particular, our guru of the week, who was Sunday Limes, who won that award because of the awesome curation of that J-pop playlist. That is Limes, this is Japanese picks, and their awesome movie list, which is Limes' favorite movies. We've got the best place on the internet for curation, and we can't wait to see what you post, because your taste at Ask a Guru is the world's next obsession. And now, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this book, which details the forgotten, lost empire of India, Vijayanagar. And so, Vijayanagar means city of victory, and it was said to have reached its height in the 14th century, and the accounts of this city are just truly mesmerizing. Some of the characters are so colorful. It's like, man, I reading this book, I gotta say, like, between this and Herodotus, it's really up there in terms of like just the stories that are being told. And I believe him. I gotta say. But I will start by reading to you about one of the kings that they tell of in Vijayanagar. What a colorful character this guy was. All right, are you ready? All right, listen to this, gurus. There are tales of him which do indeed seem most marvelous of the things that he did. As for instance, how he made ready an army, because one day in the morning, while standing dressing at a window, which was closed, a ray of the sun came into his eyes, and he cried out that he would not rest until he had killed or vanquished whomsoever had dared to enter his apartments while he was dressing. All his nobles could not dissuade him from his purpose, even though they told him it was the sun that had done it, a thing without which they could not live, that it was a celestial thing and was located in the sky, and that he could never do any harm to it. With all this, he made his forces ready, saying that he must go in search of his enemy. And as he was going along with large forces raised in the country through which he began his march, so much dust arose that it obscured the sun. When he lost sight of it, he made fresh inquiries as to what the thing was, and the captains told him that there was now no reason for him to wait, and that he might return home, since he had put to flight him who he had come to seek. Content with this, the king returned by the road that he had taken in his search for the sun, saying that since his enemy had fled, he was satisfied. Gurus, can you believe that? This king, while getting dressed, gets the sun in his eyes and vows to strike down the sun because it had attempted to watch him getting dressed. That is what this story just laid out. Crazy, right, gurus? That's just one of the stories in this book. I'm telling you, there are literally dozens of stories that are just wild, that are like, oh my gosh, the colorful characters. You can make a whole movie of it. This is like some Don Quixote stuff. And like, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Don Quixote was influenced by this, because a really interesting story or fact that I found out was that Vijayanagar, this ancient lost empire, was so famous in its time that people from all over the world traveled to go see it. And they all remarked about how rich it was, how beautiful it was, and they wanted a piece of the action. In fact, the Portuguese had colonized part of India, and I had never known that until I read this book. Goa was colonized by the Portuguese, and it was largely because they wanted in on the maritime trade of Vijayanagar. Gurus, this is crazy. I never knew this, but I found this out in this book. And so the history of the world, migration, colonization is so wild. I'm going to read to you another story that is said of this king. Other extravagances are told of him, which make him out a great lord. As for instance, that being in the Charmodel country, he was told that certain leagues distant in the sea, there was a very great island, and its land was gold, and the stones of its houses and those which were produced in the ground were rubies and diamonds, in which island there was a great pagoda, whither came the angels from heaven to play music and dance. Being covetous of being the lord of this land, he determined to go there, but not in ships, because he had not enough for so many people. So he began to cart a great quantity of stones and earth, and to throw it into the sea in order to fill it up, so that he might reach the island and putting this in hand with great labor, he did so much that he crossed over to the island of Celio, which is 12 or 15 leagues off. This causeway that he made was, it is said, in course of time eaten away by the sea, and it remains now called the Shoals of Chilao. His captain, General Miliquinby, seeing how much labor was being spent in a thing so impossible, made ready 2 ships in a port of Charmodel, which he loaded with much gold and precious stones, and forged some dispatches as of an embassy sent in the name of the king of that island, in which he professed his obedience and sent presents. And after this, the king did not proceed any further with his causeway. In memory of this work, he made a very large pagoda, which is still there. It is a great place of pilgrimage. There are 2,000 of these similar stories, with which I hope with time to trouble your honor, and with other better ones. This is an excerpt from this book. Gurus. This king, hearing that there was an island filled with treasure and singing and dancing angels, attempted to march his army there to conquer it, and only was dissuaded when he was fooled by his general, who forged an emissary bearing gifts to dissuade him from invading this island of angels and treasure. I'm telling you, gurus, this is just a few of the wild stories in this book, and I believe them. There are stories of battles, pitched battles, of Portuguese mercenaries coming to India, and a band of 100 of them being so valuable in the geopolitics. There is tales of intrigue, of the most sinister plots to take over the throne. You would have thought this was Game of Thrones, I'm telling you. But gurus, this book is really something. It is called A Forgotten Empire, Vijayanagar. And, you know, apart from being such an entertaining and fascinating historic read, it got me thinking, gurus. Vijayanagar was said to be one of the most stunning empires the world has ever seen. Most beautiful cities compared to Rome. Gardens filling the entire place. Riches, untold riches. Prosperity like none other. And it was said to have been conquered eventually and looted. And today its ruins are still visited. And its ruins are stunning. I hope you look up the Hampi ruins of Vijayanagar. And this is some almost over 600 years, 700 years later. And it still looks stunning. So you can only imagine what it looked like in its heyday. And so, gurus, it got me thinking, how many more lost cities are there? How many great empires have there been? What did those cities look like? What were its people like? The art that is described here is something else. And so, gurus, I thought I'd share that with you just as a reminder that this is a fascinating world that we live in. And I actually had never heard of Vijayanagar before I read that book. Maybe you never have, but if you watch this video, hopefully you will come away hearing of one more fascinating empire and city, and also maybe that sparks some wonder in you. And so if you've got some other interesting books that you would love to share with us, fascinating reads, wonderful stories. This is the home for all of that. And so, Gurus, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you think about this story about Vijayanagar in the comments. Let us know what you think of these stories and if there are other stories and books that you'd want us to check out. Most importantly, download Ask a Guru or sign up at askaguru.com and let us know there so that your taste can be the world's next obsession. And if you've got great music and other art to share, we love to be influenced by your taste. And so, Gurus, I hope again that you enjoyed this video. Tell the whole world, your friends and family and loved ones, about what the Gurus are up to. This is the very beginning of our remarkable journey, and so if you're watching this video, you are here at our beginning, and you get to tell all of your friends and your family in the future that you were here from day one, practically. And that's a beautiful thing. So I hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening and that you enjoyed this video and these stories, and you can look forward to more incredible history, stories, and tales of art. Peace, Gurus.